Happy 4th of July, my fellow Americans, and to everyone else, here's a Roro Studios video posted on an unusual day of the week. Recently, I reviewed 21 towers submitted to SMToH Ring 6, and today I make my contribution to the tower selection. Tower of Star-Spangled Banner, named and themed after the American flag, and it'll be medium difficulty. To begin, here's a crash course in America lore. The United States of America is located in North America, made up of 48 contiguous states, plus Alaska and Hawaii, for a total of 50. Originally, we were 13 British colonies until the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, 1776, which is why that day is Independence Day. The flag has 13 stripes for the 13 original colonies and 50 stars for the 50 states. The flag is also known as the Star-Spangled Banner, and that's also the name of the national anthem. There are many other patriotic songs too, these being a couple examples I'll use as the tower's music. It's time to begin building the tower, so I created a new place of the SMToH game. This will eventually become Ring 6, but for now, all that'll be here is Tower of Star-Spangled Banner. I inserted the tower kit and set up the scripts as I've done many times before. Now, a few days ago, the V6 kit released, featuring new client objects and a big overhaul of how they're coded. However, for this tower, I'll use the previous version, V5.5, because 1, I started building it before V6 released, and 2, so were all the other Ring 6 towers. For future SMToH towers, though, the towers will use V6, and I'll look into a good way of converting a tower from V5.5 to V6 for those of you who have started a tower in V5.5 intending it for such a future area. It's actually been quite a long time since I started a brand new tower. I actually have not done so since Tower of Birthday Celebrations last August. Since then, I've seen many of you guys post screenshots of your cool tower frames, so I decided to give that a try myself. Here's what I came up with. It's 6 30x30 boxes, all sides transparent, with neon and 4x4 parts on the corners. Of course, I use red, white, and blue as the frame colors. At the top, I put a 60x60 box outlined in blue with an American flag and USA on each side. Time for some gameplay. Since this is medium difficulty, it won't be very punishing with just one outside at the very beginning. I started to build one, but then struggled for ideas on how I should design it, so I just skipped ahead to floor 1. You enter the tower through this door. First up, a ladder to lift you 15 studs or so off the floor, such that you can't just easily skip gameplay by jumping to it from the ground. Now I'll place a small circular platform attached to the ground with a stilt, and with a neon ring on the underside created via a union. On top, a slowly spinning wall. This is good for medium difficulty because you can walk with it or just wrap around it. With a couple jumps built, I tried to add some more detail than just a neon ring most people won't even notice anyway. I modified this red spinning part to add some white to it. I did this by welding parts to it. Hey, you know what that kind of reminds me of? This is the perfect way to detail this tower. Red and white striped platforms, and blue platforms with white stars. But wait, stars are a bit more complicated to build than you'd think. Luckily, as I've been able to do many times now, I can steal from Tower of the Planets. I copy and pasted this star from the sun floor, and changed the color and created a union so that's one part I can easily copy paste and edit. Next is another client object that definitely was not worth the 30 minutes it took to get it working, but I suppose what I learned could be applied elsewhere. When you jump on the circular part, it tilts slightly. I did this with a morpher by welding parts to it, which I've done many times before. The hard part is getting your character to stick to it. Morphers don't normally do that, but it is possible using the method shown in this video in building tutorials in the EToH Discord. You basically take the part you want to stick to and weld it to the main morph part, but with an align position and align orientation instead of a weld constraint. Next, to help fill this empty space, will be one of these pushball course thingies. I'll decorate the pushball with an American flag decal on all sides. After you spawn the pushball, you'll have a few seconds to run to these buttons, which will deactivate these parts and prevent the ball from rolling into the pushbox destroyer. Then you'll use an X pusher to get the ball onto a jump pad, which will launch it the rest of the way to the button, which activates a truss so you can progress. In the extra space, I put a map of the United States and what's a meter. Next, you have a wraparound and a few hanging parts. Here, the numbers indicate what order you jump to the stars, with each star having an invisible part on it. To help indicate that this is what you're supposed to do, I added an outline to the first part. Above where I place the hanging parts is where you go next. There's a wraparound, die, and a tilting part you spin around, and another of these circular tilting morpher things. On the next floor, there will be a button section. Often I like to help indicate what buttons do with a can collide false neon wire connecting it to whatever it activates. I meant to do that with the buttons earlier, but I forgot. I'll add them later. I did remember for this button though. Since the button is white, the wire will be white. Just set it to neon and oh boy, my whole computer is crashing. Why would it be doing that? Oh, right. With the wire in place, I need some jumps to get to the button. They're pretty straightforward, but to prevent shortcutting, I put a semi-transparent wall here and added stars to the semi-transparent blue, as I have been for the whole tower. This does cause a problem of the wire going through the barrier though. I tried giving the wire a 1-stud space to go through for some realism, but the visible seams this creates in the semi-transparent looked far worse than the wire going through the part, which most people probably won't notice anyway. Time for a client object puzzle. It'll be based on the game Parking Panic, wherein you must slide cars around to get one of them out of the level. I'll be doing the same with X pushers on a 20x20 platform. This does leave a lot of empty space below though, so I put some decals of American symbols: the Statue of Liberty, the US Capitol, and George Washington. Now for the X pushers. I want them to move on just one axis like the cars in Parking Panic. You should be able to move them in 2 directions and they shouldn't slide back to their original position when not pushed. X pushers already move on one axis as I want, but to prevent them from moving unless a player pushes it, I need to remove the vector force. Also, this was the shape I decided to go with to make it easy to push from either side. It also helps indicate which axis it moves on. That is, it moves like this and not like this. The X pushers in this puzzle need to technically all be a single push box, and that's for 2 reasons. 1, I want the puzzle to be resettable, and 2, it needs to be a push box for it to be able to press a button, which is what you'll do once you get the main X pusher out. Making these a push box isn't too hard though. I need to delete the client object bool values in each X pusher, group the 2 I've made so far into a model called pushbox, put said model inside a pushbox spawn button in place of a single part called pushbox, and add a bool value called box anchor to the invisible parts, equivalent to this part on a normal X pusher, so that they stay anchored. With the mechanics of the puzzle ready, I can start placing X pushers. I somewhat randomly placed them around until I ended up with a good level of difficulty for getting this one out. Then I clarified the objective with a sign and by making the main X pusher gold and 0.4 reflectance. The button activates a ladder to the end of floor 6, which is just a few more hanging part jumps before the big box for the final 2 floors. By Tower of Birthday Celebrations logic, this box would count as 8 floors since it takes up the volume of 8 floors, but here it counts as 2. Sure, it's inconsistent, but it's my game so I can do what I want. Let's also not forget that Tower of the Planets has multiple sections that could be counted as like 5 floors, yet they don't count as any. Well, in any case, the gameplay for the final 2 floors ended up being quite short anyway. What I decided to do was put a spinning American flag in the center, and that's what the gameplay is based around. Getting the scale just how I wanted it was a bit annoying, but in the end, this is what I came up with. The gameplay in here starts with a conveyor directing you to this corner with another tilty circle boy. You don't stick to this one though, because you don't need to. When you jump to the bottom, the morpher activates and it tilts such that you can jump to the top. On the others, it started tilting with you on the top. Since the flag spins slowly, I don't want you to have to wait around forever, so I put a long platform along this wall to minimize the time you'd have to wait. Then I started building the gameplay on the flag, which, again to minimize waiting, directs you to the center from either side. Then it's some simple spinning jumps to the top. I considered putting gameplay along the sides of the room, but it would all be shortcuttable by jumping to or from the flag. In fact, the flag itself is completely cheesable too, since you can wall hop up it. But since that would only skip like 5 jumps, I'm not too concerned. Instead of gameplay to decorate this room, I put some of Roblox's America-themed accessories, which I can insert into the game using the command bar. Game, get service, insert service, load asset, and then the ID from the catalog, which is in the URL, .parent equals workspace. All I need then is handle and the mesh inside it, and I can put it in place. The accessories I added were Patriotic Eagle Shoulder Friend, USA All the Way, and America's Sword Pack. In addition to this, I added some more America-themed decals on the wall like I did on floor 5. The US coat of arms, the Lincoln Memorial, a bald eagle, and a $10 bill. We're almost at the end of the tower, but before I build the finale, let's go back to the very start where I put off the opening outside. I pretty much just kept the 2 jumps I added earlier, but added the stars and stripes decoration and added 1 spinning part. I should also mention that the way this tower will be implemented into Ring 6, the main tower will be on a floating part, and the opening outside will take you to that part. Here, I've temporarily rescaled the base plate to give you an idea of how that will work. For the moment, though, you can cheese the whole opening outside by just jumping down. Now for the finale. It'll be similar to Tower of Birthday Celebrations finale in that you get teleported to the front of the tower and the lighting changes to nighttime. In Tower of Birthday Celebrations, you press the button to blow out the candles. In Tower of Star-Spangled Banner, you watch some fireworks. The way these work is that you move along a conveyor and hit 3 pushbox spawn buttons, each one spawning several randomly placed neon cubes that fall onto an elevator and get launched in every direction. There are 3 sets of fireworks along the conveyor, and each one also has a sound player with a fireworks sound. As you ride, your move and jump will be disabled. At the end of the conveyor, you can walk again to the American flag-shaped wind pad with the text dedicated to all who fight to preserve the land that I love. To get teleported to this conveyor, you'll jump to a neon teleporter above the American flag from the previous floor. And that's Tower of Star-Spangled Banner complete. Now for the full playthrough, where I show you the whole thing start to finish. Alright, so when you join the SMToH game, you've got a new teleporter here, leading to Tower of Star-Spangled Banner. Also, since there are several of them here now, I've indicated like which one's each difficulty and so on. So here we have medium, 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes is an estimate for the moment, but I guess we're about to see. But anyway, you begin by going around this way. Pretty simple. And then it'll be more obvious that you're supposed to jump down here. Once we got the island, those will be deleted too. Then you go inside. So you climb up that ladder, and then you can make your way around here. And here you got the tilty morpher boy. Go around this way and up to here. Now we've kind of got a bunch of directions you can go. Ultimately, you're trying to get over here, over here, and then go this way and press these buttons. Now, you can get to them way before the ball does, which is why I gave them a long time that they have that deactivated. And then you want to go here, and then just hold that in place. That way I can roll and get past the push box destroyer. And then when it presses that button, you're good. It will activate this truss, which you can climb up. This also serves as button progress so that you can skip the first 2 floors should you fall from higher up. And before I actually continue there, I'll show you that there are you know, these platforms. This is just another route to get you to this button. Once up here, you can wrap around and go on these hanging parts. Then the numbers here indicate you jump above the stars in that order. So there's the fourth one. Each one is a 2x2 part, just like that one. There is a shortcut there. That one I'm probably gonna fix, but we'll leave it there for now. What later you'll have to do is go around this way, and you will rotate that. Yeah, I might also probably make it so you don't accidentally hit that every time. Anyway, then you go here, and you're trying to get to this button. Once you press it, then make your way around here. That's what this part is for. And then, okay, I guess you're gonna have to end up doing that anyway, pretty much, because you gotta get on top of the tilting thing to get up here, which is where the button activated platform is. Then go this way, and it says get the gold X pusher to the button. This is the parking panic part. You can kind of just move them around randomly until you kind of figure it out. Yeah, but this is kind of the order you need to do. And then once you got a clear path, you can send this over here, which will activate these. A couple more hanging parts, and then you're at the final part. Well, sort of. It's the last 2 floors. There's also the finale, but the finale is free. Technically, you don't have to ride all the way around the conveyor, but it's fun too. Then, depending on the cycle you get, you might have to wait for this to spin around, but I made it so that you'll only have to wait like 10-15 seconds at the most. Then you want to do these spinning jumps, or just wall hop and cheese them all, and then you want to get to here, which will take you to the final part. Oh yeah, here's the fireworks. Very epic. Dedicated to all who fight to preserve the land that I love. Then we got the American flag wind pad, and then that takes you to yay, temporary wind room. That is going to conclude today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm very pleased with the end result of this tower, and I think it's a great way to celebrate the 4th of July. Now that all 22 Ring 6 towers are ready, Ring 6 development will begin very soon, and with its release, lots of other features are coming to SMToH, including a ring select. For now though, I'll see you in the next video, and have a great day.